From disastrous putts in clutch moments to unbelievable hole-outs to stay in contention, these are the 15 most heated playoffs golf has ever seen. And first, we start with number 15. Here we've got John Daly versus Costantino Rocca in the 1995 Open Championship. It all kicks off with what has to be one of the most ridiculous moments in golf history. Rocca's standing over a 65-foot putt on the 18th hole. He needs it to force a playoff. He's already duffed his chip into the Valley of Sin, one of the most infamous spots on the St. Andrews course. And let's be real, who does that with a championship on the line? Everyone's thinking it's over. Daly's probably already practicing his victory speech. But then, the impossible happens. The ball starts rolling and somehow finds the bottom of the cup. Rocca drops to his knees, literally falling face first onto the green, pounding the ground in celebration. The crowd's going absolutely nuts, and poor John Daly, he's watching on a TV monitor outside the clubhouse, probably thinking, "You've got to be kidding me." But here's the thing about John Daly. The man doesn't get rattled. In the playoff, he turns into an absolute monster. 4 holes later, it's not even close. Daly crushes it, winning by 5 shots, turning the playoff into a one-man show. It's like that miracle putt just made him angry, and poor Rocca never stood a chance. From celebration to devastation in about an hour, that's golf for you. Number 14 brings us to a showdown no one saw coming. It's Tiger Woods versus Bob May at the 2000 PGA Championship. And let me tell you something about Tiger. When he goes to the playoffs, he goes to an absolute war. They finish regulation at 18 under, setting a tournament record. But here's the crazy part. Bob May, a journeyman who'd never won on the PGA Tour, is going toe-to-toe with Tiger in his absolute prime. The back 9? Pure fireworks. It's like watching 2 heavyweights trading haymakers in the ring. May makes 4 straight birdies. Tiger answers. May makes another birdie. Tiger matches him again. Neither one blinks. They both shoot 31 on the back 9. Like, are you kidding me? The tension was so thick, you can practically feel it through the screen. They finish at 18 under, smashing the tournament record, and we're headed to a 3-hole playoff. First playoff hole, and Tiger does something that becomes instantly iconic. He drains this long birdie putt and literally runs after it, pointing at the hole before it drops. May keeps fighting, makes every putt he needs to stay alive, but Tiger just won't break. 3 holes later, Tiger's holding the trophy. But the real story? The journeyman who nearly dethroned the king. Bob May didn't win, but he made Tiger earn every inch of that victory. At number 13, we're watching Dustin Johnson and Jon Rahm going head-to-head at the 2020 BMW Championship. Now, this is modern drama at its finest. DJ's been on a rampage, practically tearing up the tour and fresh off an 11-shot victory the week before. He's the guy to beat. But Jon Rahm, he's not about to roll over. It all comes to a head on the 18th hole in regulation. DJ's staring down a 45-footer. He needs it to force a playoff, and it's not just any putt. We're talking multiple breaks, downhill, the kind of putt where you're happy just to get it close. But DJ? He lines it up, gives it a smooth stroke, and the ball starts its wild journey. It curls, it dips, it looks like it might stop short, but then it smacks the back of the flagstick and it drops. The look on Rahm's face says it all. Are you serious right now? So they head back to 18 for the playoff, and the pressure is sky high. This time, it's Rahm's turn to deliver some magic. He's standing over a 66-foot putt. It's even longer than DJ's was. He's looking at 2 huge breaks, needs perfect speed, perfect line, and somehow this thing starts tracking. The ball's rolling and rolling, 2 of the longest putts you'll ever see, back to back, with everything on the line. This is the kind of stuff that makes golf absolutely insane. Rolling in at number 12, we've got Larry Mize versus Greg Norman in the 1987 Masters. And oh boy, is this one going to hurt if you're a Greg Norman fan. This one actually starts with 3 players in the mix: Seve Ballesteros, Norman, and Mize. But Seve bows out after the first playoff hole, leaving the stage set for a dramatic duel between Norman and Mize. Then comes the moment that would haunt Norman for years. Now, let's set the scene. It's the second playoff hole, the par 4 11th at Augusta's Amen Corner. Norman is in prime position, safely on the green with a putt for birdie. Meanwhile, Mize, he's 140 feet away from the pin, sitting in a scruffy patch of fairway with an awkward lie. But then, Mize pulls off the unthinkable. He takes his wedge, strikes it clean, and the ball starts rolling. A perfect line straight toward the hole. And then, it drops him dead center. Larry Mize just chipped in for the win. Unbelievable. The crowd explodes into chaos. Norman's standing there in shock, and just like that, a local Augusta boy becomes Masters champion. Next up, number 11. And this one is just ridiculous. We're talking about Tiger Woods versus Rocco in the 2008 US Open. First off, Tiger's playing on a broken leg and a torn ACL. Let that sink in. He can barely walk, grimacing after every swing, yet somehow, he's still in contention at a US Open. So, we get to Sunday's 18th hole. Tiger's trailing by 1 and needs a birdie on one of the toughest finishing holes in golf just to force a playoff. He's literally limping to his ball, and the whole world is thinking, there's no way, not this time. But Tiger being Tiger, he steps up and drains a 12-footer that makes the ground shake. Then comes Monday, an entire extra round, 18 grueling holes. And guess what? They're still tied. Rocco, the underdog, matches Tiger shot for shot, refusing to back down. They head to sudden death, and the tension is through the roof. Tiger's literally using his clubs as crutches between shots. On the first extra hole, Rocco finally falters. He makes a bogey, and it's over. Tiger somehow won his 14th major championship playing on basically one leg, 91 holes. The whole thing lasted 91 holes. We later find out that doctors told Tiger he shouldn't even be playing. He took 14 months off after this to recover. But for 5 days in June, he gave us one of the gutsiest performances we'll ever see in any sport. At number 10, the 2011 US Women's Open delivers an unforgettable showdown between So-Yeon Ryu and Hee-Kyung Seo. This is way more than just a playoff. It's a story of national pride, redemption, and incredible pressure. Get this, South Korean golfers, who'd been dominating women's golf for a decade, hadn't won a single LPGA event all year. People back home are starting to whisper, are they losing their edge? Has the hunger disappeared? The tension leading up to the playoff was intense. Seo had gone to bed Sunday night thinking she might already have the title in the bag, but the tournament was so delayed by weather that Ryu still had 3 holes to play when darkness fell. So, Monday morning comes and Ryu's got to birdie the final hole just to force a playoff. The tension rises even further. One putt to either save or crush your country's golfing pride. And she drains it. But we're just getting started. They end up playing 3 more holes, and it's like watching a chess match at 100 miles per hour. These two are firing at flags, draining putts, refusing to back down. Finally, Ryu breaks through with a couple of clutch birdies. When the final putt drops, it's not just her victory. It's like all of South Korea is celebrating with her. Coming in at number 9, we've got Tiger Woods versus Tom Lehman in the Duel in the Desert at the 1997 Mercedes Championships. Now, this is Tiger before he became Tiger. You know what I mean? He's still this young kid trying to prove he belongs, and he's going head-to-head with Tom Lehman, the reigning player of the year. The weather is absolutely terrible. They can only play 1 hole because the rest of the course is underwater. How's that for pressure? 1 shot to decide it all. Lehman, being the veteran, steps up first. The wind's howling, rain's coming down, and splash. His shot finds the water. Game over, right? But wait, because what Tiger does next is just ridiculous. He hits what might be the most perfect shot under pressure you'll ever see. Through the rain, through the wind, his ball lands 2 feet behind the hole, spins back, and stops 8 inches away. 8 inches! In conditions that would make most golfers happy just to find the green. This was the world's first glimpse of what Tiger would do to golf for the next decade. At number 8, we got Bubba Watson versus Louis Oosthuizen at the 2012 Masters, a playoff that delivered one of the most iconic shots in golf history. The day started with fireworks when Louis made a jaw-dropping albatross on the par 5 second hole, just the 4th in Masters history. A 260-yard approach shot that finds the cup? This has got to be my day, right? Well, Bubba Watson had other plans. The two finished tied at 10 under, heading into a playoff that promised high drama. The first hole? Nothing special. Both made par. Then came the par 4 10th, and things got downright chaotic. Both players sprayed their drives into the trees, leaving everyone thinking this playoff could drag on. But then, Bubba Watson pulls off what might be the craziest shot in Masters history. He's deep in the pine straw with trees blocking his view of the green. What does he do? Armed with a wedge, he hooked the ball nearly 40 yards around the trees, the ball soaring through the air before landing softly on the green, like it had GPS. 2 putts later, and Bubba Watson is crying his eyes out, wearing a green jacket. Now we are at number 7. Here we got Payne Stewart versus Scott Simpson in the 1991 US Open. And this one had everything: style, drama, and a complete momentum shift that nobody saw coming. Stewart, rocking his signature knickers and Tam O'Shanter cap, is 2 shots behind Simpson, with just 3 holes to play. It looked like Simpson, the steady and quiet veteran, had it in the bag. But Stewart? He wasn't going down without a fight. Stewart's got this look in his eye, the kind that tells you he's not done yet. He steps up to the 16th hole and drains this monster 20-foot birdie putt. Meanwhile, Simpson's standing over a 3-footer for par, the kind of putt you make in your sleep. Except he doesn't. The ball lips out, and suddenly, this thing is wide open. Stewart keeps his cool, pars the last hole, and ends up winning by 2 shots. But don't let that final scoreline fool you. This was a battle of wills until the very end. Stewart's flamboyant style clashed perfectly with Simpson's reserved demeanor, making it a showdown of fire versus ice. In the end, it was Stewart's grit and flair that carried the day, etching his name into US Open history. At number 6, we have Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods delivering an unforgettable showdown at the 2005 Ford Championship. Sure, it wasn't a major on a 3-putt anymore. It helps you improve your game. So, here we are. Phil comes in absolutely on fire, leading after 10 straight rounds. We're talking about peak Lefty here. He's just won the Masters, shooting incredible numbers like 64, 66, 66, shooting a 3rd round 63. The final round turns into an absolute slugfest. The crowd is massive, 35,000 people, and it feels like every single one of them is following this 2-man show. Phil's up by 2 early, but Tiger starts chipping away. He birdies the 10th to tie it up, and then pure theater from start to finish. Number 5 takes us to the craziest playoff you'll ever see, the 2001 Nissan Open. 6 players, 1 sudden death showdown. Think of Bob Tway, Dennis Paulson, Brandel Chambly, Jeff Sluman, and Toshi Izawa, all tied at 8 under 276. The weather? Brutal, cold, raw, and relentless. This wasn't just a playoff, it was a survival test. Some players had finished their rounds over an hour earlier, pacing around trying to stay loose while watching the leaderboard shift with every stumble. The first playoff hole was pure chaos. 6 players, 6 caddies, officials, camera crews. It felt like a parade marching down the fairway. Tension hung in the air so thick you could feel it through the screen. One mistake, and you were done. And then Robert Allenby stepped up, a guy with an already ridiculous 6-0 playoff record. The rain was pouring. Visibility was tough, and the hole had been playing to a brutal 4.544 average all day. But Allenby was unfazed. From 225, the gallery erupts and you can feel the other 5 players deflate. Allenby lines up his birdie putt with the confidence of a game over. It's the only birdie anyone would make, and it's all he needed. 1 shot, in the worst conditions imaginable, with 5 players breathing down his neck. That's not just winning, that's clutch under the highest pressure. At number 4, we fast forward to 2022 for an absolute heartbreaker at the PGA Championship. Justin Thomas, Mito Pereira, and Will Zalatoris give us drama that nobody saw coming. Mito Pereira, this 27-year-old from Chile who most fans had never heard of, is 1 hole away from making history. He's leading a major championship on Sunday, living every golfer's dream. All he needs is a par on 18, and he's a major champion. Then we witness one of those moments that reminds you how cruel golf can be. His tee shot on 18, it's not even close. The ball finds the water, and you can literally see his dream dissolving in real time. The crowd goes silent. It's gut-wrenching to watch. Meanwhile, Justin Thomas and Will Zalatoris are heading to a 3-hole playoff. JT's already made up a 7-shot deficit, which hadn't been done in a PGA Championship since 1978. The playoff is pure adrenaline. They both birdie the 13th hole, matching haymakers. But then Thomas does something absolutely outrageous. He drives the green on the 17th. In a playoff, the ball barely clears the water, and the crowd absolutely erupts. Zalatoris, who's played his heart out all day, can only watch as Thomas 2-putts for birdie. A par on 18 seals it, and JT's got his 2nd PGA Championship. And poor Mito? He's left to wonder what might have been. 3 players, 3 completely different stories, all playing out in the span of an hour. That's what makes golf so special. You never know who's going to be the hero and who's going to be the heartbreak. Rolling in at number 3, we've got Tiger Woods versus John Daly in the 2005 WGC American Express Championship, a playoff showdown that felt more like a heavyweight title fight than a golf tournament. These two couldn't have been more different. Tiger, the clinical technician with ice in his veins, and Daly, the big-hitting, beer-drinking, fan-favorite wildcard. The atmosphere was nothing short of electric. It wasn't just loud, it was deafening. Tiger later admitted his eardrums were pounding from the noise. From the start, it was a spectacle. Both players were launching drives over 350 yards, thrilling the crowd with every swing. By the time they reached the playoff, the tension was almost unbearable. Thousands of fans lined the fairways, holding their breath with every shot. Then came the decisive moment. On the green, Daly had a 15-footer for the win. The crowd was silent, waiting to erupt. He struck it pure, but it grazed the edge and stayed out. The groans from the gallery were audible, but Daly wasn't done yet. He still had a 3-footer to keep the playoff alive. Everyone thought, no way he misses this. But the unthinkable happened. Daly's short putt lipped out, and you could feel the collective gasp from the crowd as the energy drained from the course. Even Tiger, who had watched the drama unfold, looked more heartbroken than triumphant. He tapped in for the win, but the victory felt hollow, as if neither player truly wanted it to end that way. At number 2, we have Patrick Cantlay versus Bryson DeChambeau at the 2021 BMW Championship. A playoff duel so intense, it felt like it could go on forever. And this is getting personal real quick. The tension boiled over early when DeChambeau tried to rattle Cantlay by snapping, "Stop walking," as he was about to hit. But if there's one thing you don't do, it's try to break Cantlay's focus. They don't call him Patty Ice for nothing, and he proved why on one of the most dramatic days in golf. The two had been locked in a battle all weekend, finishing tied at 27 under par. Then the playoff. 6 playoff holes. 6 chances for either player to seize the win. The putting display was nothing short of insane. Cantlay drained clutch putt after clutch putt, keeping himself alive when it looked like DeChambeau might have him beat. Meanwhile, Bryson missed several birdie opportunities that could have ended it, each one more agonizing than the last. On the 5th playoff hole, DeChambeau smashed a 340-yard drive into the rough, but nearly holed his approach shot. Cantlay, as cool as ever, calmly made par to extend the playoff yet again. And then it happened. Cantlay faced an 18-foot birdie putt for the win. With the crowd holding their breath, he stepped up and stroked it perfectly. The ball tracked, dropped into the cup, and the crowd erupted in chaos. Bryson could only stand there, his frustration and disbelief written all over his face. The Iceman had just won. And finally, at number 1, we have the unforgettable 7-hole playoff between Tiger Woods and Jim Furyk at the 2001 WGC NEC Invitational. A showdown so wild it felt like a Hollywood script. It starts with Furyk in serious trouble on the very first playoff hole. He finds himself in a bunker, needing to get up and down just to stay alive. Game over. But not so fast. Furyk steps up to his second bunker shot. Tiger? He's standing there stunned, having thought he'd already won. Instead, the playoff rolls on. And it doesn't stop there. Over the next 5 holes, the tension becomes almost unbearable. Tiger is in and out of trouble, recovering from the trees, catching lucky bounces off a scoreboard, and somehow pulling off par saves from impossible lies. Meanwhile, Furyk has chance after chance to end it, but the golf gods seem to have other plans. His 12-foot birdie putts keep burning the edges, and you can feel the frustration building with every near miss. By the time they reach the 7th playoff hole, the crowd and the players are emotionally drained. Everyone knows it has to end soon, but who's going to deliver the final blow? That's when Tiger steps up, a playoff filled with drama, heartbreak, and brilliance. Exactly the kind of moment that solidified Tiger Woods as one of the greatest closers in golf history. Oh, and now you're still here. We have another great video for you right in the middle of the screen. Enjoy!